All right, today we're stepping back in time, right out into the freezing cold of the 19th century Montana Territory. We are exploring the incredible story of the Lantern at Ash Creek. It's a journey that takes us all the way from bitter, freezing isolation to a profound sense of community connection. So let's dive right in. The author hooks us instantly with this stark, unforgiving scene. Just picture this. An unexpected snowstorm hits. You are completely stranded at a lonely stagecoach stop as the sun goes down and the valley is just swallowed by darkness. That is exactly where we find our protagonist, 26-year-old Emma Harper. She has just stepped off the very last stagecoach of the season, and as the wind starts rattling the wooden shutters and her coach disappears back into the blinding storm, she is entirely, utterly alone. And to make matters worse, Emma's vulnerability here is extreme. Literally everything she owns fits into one weathered leather suitcase. We're talking a faded family Bible, a handful of nursing books, and a grand total of $12. You see, she had traveled all the way out west, clutching this letter that offered her work as a teacher in Ash Creek. But when she gets there, she discovers the brutal reality of frontier life. The schoolhouse had actually burned to the ground 2 weeks prior. So the job is gone, the stagecoach is gone, and her options, well, they're at absolute zero. Enter Daniel Brooks. Daniel is a 34-year-old rancher who has lived in Ash Creek his entire life. He's this stoic, broad-shouldered widower, and he's known around the valley as the guy who never speaks more words than strictly necessary. But seeing Emma freezing out in the street, he breaks his usual silence. Because Daniel is a man of practical action. He doesn't offer flowery sympathy or a long speech, he just offers her the guest room at his ranch because, simply put, the storm isn't waiting. Now, stepping through the doors of his ranch changes everything. We transition instantly from that freezing, deadly storm outside into absolute warmth. Daniel's 7-year-old daughter, Lily, bounds up to the door with this incredible, innocent wisdom. She tells Emma, "My mama says strangers are just friends we haven't met yet." It's such a wonderful moment that instantly breaks the ice. Along with Mrs. O'Connor, the stout and deeply caring Irish housekeeper who practically raised Daniel, Emma is ushered right into this bustling, warm household where they insist on feeding her before they even ask her a single question. So days turn into weeks. Emma was really only meant to stay until she found other work, but she just naturally integrates into the rhythm of the ranch. She spends her mornings teaching young Lily how to read and her afternoons helping Mrs. O'Connor around the house. But her true value really shines when the ranch hands get injured. Using those nursing books we talked about earlier, she stitches up cuts and cleans wounds with practiced hands, and she never asks for a dime. Because of this, she quickly earns a moniker among the hands, the lady who knew medicine. But then December hits, and the brutal winter outside strikes inside the home. Little Lily contracts a severe case of pneumonia. We're talking a high fever, violent coughing, struggling to breathe. Out in the 19th century frontier, this is an absolute nightmare scenario. And, to make matters worse, the town doctor is 50 miles away, tending to another settlement. Daniel is pacing helplessly, completely terrified of losing his daughter just 3 years after losing his wife. The stakes here could literally not be higher. This is when Emma steps up. Her medical care is methodical and it's tireless. Throughout that long, harrowing night, she cycles through applying cooled cloths, administering steam to open Lily's lungs, and giving these carefully measured doses of medicine. She flat out refuses to leave the child's bedside. It's an agonizing wait for everyone, but her relentless dedication pays off. Just before sunrise, the little girl's fever finally breaks. And this exchange right here, this is the emotional core of their whole journey. Daniel just sinks into a chair, completely overwhelmed, tears in his eyes, and he tells Emma that she saved his daughter. Emma's response, "I just gave her a chance," really highlights her incredible humility. But practically speaking, this night cements Emma's vital role in the Brooks family. She isn't just a stranded traveler or a guest anymore. She is the woman who held their world together when it was on the absolute brink of falling apart. By the time Christmas arrives and the skies finally clear up, the dynamic has fundamentally shifted. The whole valley gathers inside the local church to sing carols and exchange homemade gifts. And right after the service, Lily tugs on Daniel's sleeve and asks the question that's basically been on everyone's mind. Can Miss Harper stay forever? Looking across the room at Emma, who's laughing with Mrs. O'Connor, Daniel has a profound realization. His once empty, grieving house finally feels alive again. The author uses the changing seasons here so beautifully to mirror this emotional journey. Think about it. We survived the harsh, isolating storm of November. We made it through the bitter illness of December. And now we transition into spring. It's a season of renewal, where the town actually rebuilds its schoolhouse and officially hires Emma. And that perfectly sets the stage for the warmth and the harvest of autumn, which, of course, brings us to the wedding. But before we can actually get to the wedding, there's a major mental hurdle Daniel has to overcome. On this golden spring evening, as he's walking Emma home across the prairie, he confesses his deepest fear to her. It's an incredibly raw, honest moment. He admits that after his wife died, he promised himself he would never love again. He honestly believed that loving someone new would somehow mean he'd forgotten her. He thought finding love meant erasing the memory of his past. And Emma's response is, without a doubt, the anchor of the romance. She tells him, "It means your heart found room to heal." It's such a powerful perspective on grief and love, isn't it? It shows that the human heart doesn't have to replace one love with another. It simply expands. This profound understanding clears that final obstacle between them, leading them to confess their love. And it all culminates in a joyous autumn wedding beneath a giant cottonwood tree. The whole valley attends. Even the roughest cowboys are wiping away tears. Looking back years later, the transformation of Ash Creek is just staggering. Before Emma stepped off that stagecoach, the town was isolated, struggling, and grieving. But afterward, she hasn't just rebuilt the school, she's expanded it. And she's even opened a medical clinic right next door. The Brooks Ranch becomes respected across the entire territory. And young Lily, she grows up to become both a nurse and a teacher, directly inspired by the very woman who saved her life. Whenever people ask Emma why she chose to stay in the rugged Montana territory instead of heading back to the comforts of the East, she offers this really joyful reflection. "I came here looking for a job. I found a family." I think it's a beautiful reminder for all of us about the unpredictable nature of life. Sometimes when all our well-laid plans literally burn down to the ground, it creates the exact space we need to build something far more meaningful than we could have ever imagined. So let's flash forward. Years later, Emma and Daniel, who are now elderly, are sitting together on their farmhouse porch at sunset. The glow of a lantern sits right between them as they reminisce about that very first snowstorm. Emma laughs about how she thought she had made the biggest mistake of her life getting off that stagecoach. Meanwhile, Daniel reflects on the sheer luck of his decision that he didn't just walk past her in the freezing snow. Because Daniel's single act of refusing to walk past a stranger in the dark created massive, massive ripple effects. Just think about it. Because he crossed the street that night, a child lived, a town gained a healer, and a broken family became whole again. It's a beautiful testament to how one simple decision to extend a hand can completely change the trajectory of an entire community for generations to come. That lantern on the Brooks' porch ultimately became a symbol of hope across the prairie, a reminder that the brightest lights often appear on the darkest nights. And it leaves us with one really vital question to think about. How many opportunities for connection? How many strangers in the dark are we walking past in our own daily lives? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me, and keep looking for those sparks of light.